Thurman was still a Democrat. As a matter of fact, he was the junior senator from South Carolina. I've been up there a long, long time. Again, I like to think I'm back home, and for lots of other reasons. One of my favorite congressmen, you probably know him, Congressman Joe Wilson. He's a great guy. Joe always likes to say, Jim used to live down in my home state of South Carolina. I looked at him the first time he ever said that. He said, well, Jim's an old Marine. He lived down there at Paris Island. So I did. Look, it's an honor to be back here. And Bill, thanks. I enjoyed being on your show the other morning. I look forward to many more of them. You got a great show going there, and we're gonna need that. Look, I've been going around on this Spending Revolt bus tour up and down my home state of Florida, and we're going to go on up into North Carolina and Pennsylvania and Virginia. But I wanted to mention a couple of things about health care, Obamacare. We senior citizens were outraged by its passage, and by the way, it's not going to stand. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to get rid of it. One way or the other. Bill also mentioned the AARP, my nemesis, and I do like to, kind of get under their skin a little bit. Let me show you what I do hold up sometimes.
Yeah. Hey.
The reason I did this bumper sticker, the Association Against Retired Persons, they don't like us very much at 60 plus, but I'm not too fond of them either. Because quite frankly, they're nothing but a Fortune 500 insurance conglomerate. They get millions and millions of your tax dollars and mine. We don't do that at 60 plus. We preach limited government, less taxes, and an adherence to a document that too many members of Congress need to get reacquainted with, and that's the Constitution of the United States of America. I'll give you just a couple other differences between my group and the AARP. They like to tout an entertainer named Harry Belafonte. Well, Harry's a great entertainer, but he likes to hobnob with people like Ahmadinejad and Cesar Chavez. We like to hobnob, if you will, at 60 plus with our spokesman. You may have heard of him, legendary entertainer Pat Boone. And Pat Boone likes to tout his friendship with none other than the late Ronald Reagan. So look, I've been going around. I was talking to Bill earlier. On a Saturday, it's nice that people come out on Saturday evening to do this sort of thing. Lots of you could be doing other things. As I mentioned to Bill, we have 7 children. I have 15 grandchildren, and I am of retirement age as of about 10 years ago. So, I'd like to be out playing golf, as many of you would, and fishing and all that, but we have a duty ahead of us, and we're doing it, and that's why it's an honor to be down here with you. Let me just touch on Obamacare for just a second. So many seniors, a little over a year ago, at those town hall meetings, seniors were up in arms, and they were angry about this thing coming down the turnpike. And I was watching a lot of that, and there was somebody called them, you seniors mainly, men and women, called you un-American. At that point, I got a little bit upset. I've been in Washington almost 50 years. And that's one of the most despicable things I've ever heard thrown at senior citizens, un-American. And I thought to myself, those men and women, many of whom served in one branch or another of our armed services, men and women alike, many of you right here, or you have relatives who did, who fought on distant lands, to give her the right to call you that. I'm not going to mention her name, but her initials are Nancy Pelosi. So I made a vow right then that I was going to keep fighting this battle to get seniors out there. Look, seniors are motivated. It's you younger folks. You got to stay engaged on this issue. There's a tsunami headed toward Capitol Hill. In this case, it's a senior citizen tsunami. And unless it subsides, there's going to be a lot of folks looking for a new line of work come November the 2nd. Mainly it's going to be Democrats, but there's going to be some Republicans too, if they don't mind their P's and Q's. Somebody asked me the other day, Jim, how did the Tea Party movement, how did it spring up? And I hadn't been asked that before, and I got caught a little bit off guard, but I went with my gut instinct, and I said, well, it's probably, I'm a Republican personally, but my group is nonpartisan. And I said, well, I think it's because the Republican Party, when they got into power a couple of years ago, It was the same old, same old. They started doing the same thing the Democrats had been doing. Keep spending, keep spending. And so the Tea Party said, had enough. And so some people said, and I see you nodding here, apparently I hit a chord there, but I also said this, they're going to get in again, the Republicans with the help of so many of you folks like you, but if they don't do it right this time, they'll get tossed out again on their ears, and well, they should. So we're going to watch them, and we're going to be going around the country. I went to Tea Party Express out in Searchlight a few months ago, and I plan to do it again. By the way, we mentioned Pat Boone a minute ago, our national spokesman. Pat the other day was out in Las Vegas with a lady named Sharon Angle. And I think you've heard that name. She's running against a fellow named Harry Reid. Pat flew in there, did a fundraiser with her. And I'm telling you right now, Sharon Angle is going to beat Harry Reid. This guy, take it to the bank. He's a dead man walking. He's gone. He is absolutely gone. And Sharon Angle is a tremendous candidate. It's Tea Party folks everywhere. It's Pat Boone at age 76 going up there and doing a fundraiser for her. By the way, he's doing a Pat Boone Tea Party. He's formed his own Tea Party out in Beverly Hills. And he was on Fox yesterday, and somebody said, my gosh, Pat, you're surrounded a bunch of liberals. He said, I know, but you got to always continue to fight, keep fighting. Let me make one other comment. This button, kill the death tax, I came up with that phrase a few years ago. Well, actually, Ronald Reagan mentioned it in the early 80s. It is true that I popularized it through the years by always stressing it. So much so that Bill Gates Sr., who's a flaming liberal, as you all know, he wrote a book about it. And I didn't realize it till a guy called me up and he gave me a couple of pages worth in the book. And he said, this guy Martin came up with the term death tax. And he said, kind of snuck up on us. There were only about a dozen sponsors in the House when I got wind of it about 15 years ago. There were none in the Senate. We've moved it from one goal line, passed it in the House by a 100-vote margin. And thanks to John Cowell in the Senate, he got it going there, the very first sponsor. He got 57 votes in the Senate, it takes 60. So we're very close to getting it done. But in this book, he was saying, talking about my nemesis, Ted Turner and CNN and all that business. I've got this quote framed. He said in the book, we knew we were losing to Jim Martin's rhetoric. You know, they want to call it the estate tax, like it's, you know, rich man's tax. The rich, like the Gateses and the Buffetts and the Winfreys and others, and I don't blame them for this, they can protect their estates. They have to spend an inordinate amount of money to protect it, setting up foundations. It's small entrepreneurs and businessmen and women all over this country who don't have that type of financial capital to waste on lawyers and accountants, you see. So he said, we were calling it the estate tax, and this fella kept referring. He said, we knew we were losing the battle when CNN, of all TV networks, started routinely referring to it as the death tax. So I said, I got to frame that and keep it on my wall. Again, I want to close on the AARP. Someone asked me about our membership. Well, we're 18 years old. We've got 5.5 million seniors nationally. They have 40 million. People are flocking to our banner. Somebody had invited me down to North Carolina a while back, said, let's have us an AARP card burning event. Jim, come on down and talk. And I said, no, that could be a fire hazard. It might upset some of our environmental buddies over there. Just slice them in half and mail them on back in. If you got one of their BREs, wrap that around it and they'll have to pay the postage. Look, they said they weren't for this particular bill all along. I call it the two-step. You call them on, they take a step forward, you call them on the carpet, they take a step back. I remember Nancy Pelosi said, oh, they're all behind this. No, we're not yet, because they had all those seniors getting upset with them around the country, you see. And then Obama says in an editorial, yeah, they're with us. Well, they denied that. Of course, when it came to push and shove, of course, they supported it. We knew they would all along, because it's a financial thing with them. It's not for us. I was asked, does this thing make sense? No, of course not. Well, it makes sense, dollars and cents, to the AARP's bottom line. So with that in mind, we've always opposed it. I'm getting hit all over the country now by the AARP because I go out and tell the truth about it. Until we came along, you know, they just They were getting tax dollars and making, they made $622 million last year in profits. And when they can go out and say, here's the thing, it's pretty tough as a senior to resist a sales pitch that says, because we're 35 million strong, we can get you the lowest price possible. Okay? So you buy in. Then you read that they made $627 million last year. Or as the hearing pointed out a few years ago, they had 19 executives making over 100,000. The other day I read they have 256 executives making over $250,000. So what did I tell you before? They're a Fortune 500 conglomerate. They're a huge money-making machine. You watch all these ads now since Obamacare passed every day. So nothing in about except the AARP. Look, I'm glad to be down here with you. I'm going to hang around later and meet a lot of good folks here. And again, I feel like I'm back home. I called my wife a while ago up in Arlington and said I'll be home in a couple of days, but it's really great to be back down in South Carolina. So thank you once again for being here. Thank you.